Morning, guys. August the 2nd here in central Illinois. Hopefully, this humidity and uh, heat will dissipate here in the next couple of days. They're calling for it to be in I think next week, a high of 71 or 72, which I will love. The other thing that I'm loving is the fact that my contractor and my painter are out here and they are doing work on the house. They came out yesterday. Contractor's just replacing some rotten trim that I've got. And of course, the painter is going to power wash the house and paint the whole thing. And that basically should see me into the grave. It was 13 years ago that we painted the house. So at that time, I was only 61. And I'm 74 now, so if we get another 13 years out of the house, and I'm still alive, which I doubt that I will be, why, I'd be, what would that be? That'd be 87 years of age. So, anyhow, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about what it would have been like to have been a kid, to have been born in 1901, and I've lived clear up through the end of the war, which would have put you at 44, 45, somewhere in there, because that's the time frame that I like to collect. And when I build my template toys, because that's all I build is toys. I'm not a scale modeler. I don't have the talent to be a scale modeler. I can do simple things, and for the most part, these toys are simple things, and that's how I want to keep them, is simple and in the same vein as to what they were like back in the day. So this is where I get some of my ideas. This is how I try to wrap my mind around what was, which is virtually impossible. I mean, there's about 7 billion people on the face of the earth, and I doubt out of that 7 billion that there's 1,000 people that could actually put themselves in the mindset of somebody that lived before. But I try. But one of the things that I wanted to do was show you how things progressed in the 45 years. If you were a kid, and let's put you as a teenager, as a teenager just before the First World War. If you were a boy, odds are you had a Winchester 1890-22 pump. If you were a farm kid, I know you did. What's called a gallery gun. This thing had a long run. They made it for over 20 years. And it was virtually, I don't imagine that there wasn't a farm kid here in central Illinois that didn't either have a Winchester pump or a Stevens crack shot. They were very popular. They were sold in boys' magazines. Now, when you went and you bought these things, the American money at this time were called large notes. This is a series 1917. I wish I had a series 1899 to show you. It was also a large note. But to buy a series $1 bill 1899 is a car payment. And this one was not cheap, but it was about half of what that 1899. But I may buy one. I want one in good shape. This is top quality. Yeah, I could buy one that's really ratty looking, but I would rather have one that's nice. But this may have been what your dad gave you, and this money is absolutely. And this is a real bill, by the way. But the engraving work is absolutely fantastic on this $1 bill. So with this $1 bill or a pocket of $1 bills, you could have spent it on the 1890 pump. You could have spent it on the Bing 1 gauge here in the American outline, or you could have spent it on the Ives 1 gauge. There were a number of other things that you could have done. You could have bought all kinds of toys. For instance, the electric motors over there. They're around. They were what they called scientific kits. They date around 1910, somewhere in there. And of course, the steam engine accessories. And as you got a little bit older, up into the 20s, why, you could have gotten the cast iron sailors over there, the Army tank that came out. That's just a coin bank, very popular for after the war. The cast iron soldiers and sailors didn't last that long. They pretty soon went to the lead slush toys. Quicker, easier, and cheaper to manufacture, but I really prefer the cast iron. One thing you can say about cast iron, it keeps the paint on it, which is nice. So you get up into the 30s, and by that time, you're using this. This is also a large note, $1 bill, and it is a series 1923. So the stuff that you could buy in 23 would have been some of the Lionel, the tank cars. That was made in 26. This was made in 24. This is Ives. And it's funny to watch the progression of how they went from almost handmade to a little bit later on, stamped and die cast. So we get up into the 30s, and all of a sudden, the money changes. It goes from a large bill to the bill that we know today. And this is a 1928 series. In 1927, they were still large bills, and in 28, they shrunk it down to the dollar bill that we know today. And believe it or not, the size of the paper and the cost of the ink made huge savings from going from the large bill to the small bill. And these were called funny backs, because that's how they look on the back. Now, this stayed in use for a short time. Didn't stay in use that long. They hadn't decided exactly what type of a logo they wanted on the back. But in this time frame, we're already up to Lionel producing these sorts of cars, stamped, not as toy-like. The 408, the 390, and various other things to go along with it. We also go from cast iron to like the Tootsie Toys for the trucks and stuff, which are slush. And then we come up to just before the war, and we go with this particular dollar bill. Now this is I have a hard time seeing, my eyes are so bad. I can't even read the series on it. I think it's a 36, I'm not sure. But this became the dollar bill that we have today. This looks exactly like the dollar bill. This is what's called a Hawaiian dollar bill. For the war, they were afraid that the Japanese were going to invade Hawaii. So it was stamped Hawaii on the back, it was stamped Hawaii on the front, and that made it worthless to use if the Japanese would have gotten it, because they would have known that it was captured money. So they did that both in Hawaii, and they did that in the African campaign. They marked all the money so that if the Germans or the Japanese got it, they couldn't then trade it on the open market for goods and services. So you made a whole progression. And what's nice about the money, none of the paper money at that time, none of these dollar bills have "In God We Trust." No In God We Trust was printed on any American paper money until 1957, when Eisenhower signed the act in, and it became then commonplace to have In God We Trust on all our money. The coins, all the coins except for the Indian Head penny had In God We Trust on it. That was in 1909 that the Lincoln Wheat came out, and that's when In God We Trust came onto the penny. So if you were a kid that was born in 1901, you saw a lot of changes as far as your toys and as far as your money goes, which is makes things. I just find this kind of stuff interesting. It doesn't seem like a lot of change, but it was a tremendous amount of change, both in the construction of the toys and the money that you bought it with. So that's where we're at. We got a couple of projects going on, but I'm not doing too much right now because I've got working on this house, and I want it buttoned up by wintertime. I'm changing some more Alcos. This was an Alco motor, which had no bearings in it, and the holes were egg-shaped, so I went ahead and I soldered the standard gauge wheel bearings into it, which makes things tighten up, makes them run real nice, real smooth. So that's what I'm up, excuse me, that's what I'm up to right now, along with trying to make this doggone under the truck motor. I'm having some gearing problems, but I've got a lot of time to mess around and work on it, so I'll get it solved sooner or later. You guys have a good weekend. No, not weekend, but a good week. I guess this is Wednesday. This is Hump Day. Enjoy it. We'll talk with you later. Toodaloo.